With just 2 weeks until the NBA trade deadline, the Minnesota Timberwolves have started January pretty good. On today's episode of Inside the Zone with Mateo, we take an in-depth look at how the Timberwolves have been playing. I'll give you my thoughts on just things all Timberwolves related. Let's roll the intro and let's get into it. That he's right, everybody. Welcome back to Inside the Zone with Mateo. And today it is all about the Minnesota Timberwolves. But first, before we get into the Timberwolves, I would like to tell you we just hit 110 subscribers. Actually, this moment I pressed record, and we updated our little features here. Now we've got a little better. It's just a little better overall. We got Inside the Zone with Mateo updated podcasts and stuff. So under the whole channel, there's going to be separate mini podcasts here. When we talk about when we talk about only the Timberwolves, we will put that under Inside the Wolves. When we talk about the Vikings, it will go on Inside the Vikings. Same thing for the Twins and the Wild. And then our weekly NFL episode will go into Inside the NFL. They'll all be on season 2, as that is we're in season 2 in 2026. And then any other episodes, if we talk about random things like maybe MLB playoffs, NFL playoffs, random things. No, NFL playoffs would be on that, but like NBA playoffs, stuff like that. That would all still just be in the normal Inside the Zone with Mateo season 2. And all these episodes in season 2 will be on that playlist. But to help you find out where those things are, they're all going to be on their own separate little mini podcasts, still on the same channel. So I hope that helps you guys kind of find what you need to, instead of, circling through all of the videos. We're posting almost 200 videos so far. We got 110 subscribers. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. But boys, let's just get into it. Let's talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves, and it is Mateo's show, Batting Order, presented by To Be Determined. No matter what podcast we do, if we talk about the Wild, the Vikings, the NFL Weekly episode that comes to you every Thursday during the NFL season, we still use this Mateo's show batting order. It's basically an order of what we're doing in the show. It's like the show lineup. It's just with another little bit of a sports twist on it. If you know baseball, yeah, it's the batting order. I just came up with that, and we've been using it ever since. And there's 4 things on the batting order today. So first, we'll talk about, we'll give you a quick little standings update as of today's episode, January 20th, 2026. Then we'll also do a little bit of a Wolves January recap. They've played about 9 games so far. They're back in action tonight. Then we'll talk a little bit about some of those player performances from those games, some highs, some lows, and all in between. And then what's probably going to take up a majority of the time on today's episode will be my biggest takeaways through this month of January. And, we'll talk about, do the Timberwolves need to make any trades in the trade deadline? Because the trade deadline is in just a couple weeks. A lot to get to here. We're talking about the Wolves here, Inside the Wolves. Let's get on with it. Starting off with a standing update here as of January 20th, 2026. The Wolves back in action tonight, in case you are wondering. And let's get on with it. Here we go. Western Conference playoff spots here as of the 20th of January. The Wolves currently stand 8.5 games back of the number 1 seed, Oklahoma City Thunder. Here's a look at the standings, as you can see on your screen. Oklahoma City leading the way at 36-8. Right behind them, 5.5 games back behind them, are the San Antonio Spurs, sitting at 30-13. The Denver Nuggets stand 2 games above the Minnesota Timberwolves at 29-14. Then it is your Minnesota Timberwolves at 27-16. Then you got the Houston Rockets, who the Minnesota Timberwolves lost to a couple days ago. They sit at 25-15. And then half a game behind them are the Los Angeles Lakers, sitting at 25-16. In the play-in tournament, you got the Suns, Warriors, Blazers, and Clippers. Somehow, yes, the 19-win Clippers are in a play-in spot at the moment of this recording. But the big takeaways: Oklahoma City still number one. They do lose J-Dub, I believe. I wanted to get. I hadn't seen an update in a while, but here. So okay, so it's a right. So yeah, okay. This is gonna be helpful here. Let's see if we can get um it's been a brutal couple days for injuries. We saw Jimmy Butler, season-ending injury last night, but here is what we probably want. Jalen Williams has a right hamstring strain and will be reevaluated in a couple of weeks. They're basically number two player. I would say he's their number two player. Um, you could make an argument that Chet is their number two player, but besides Shea, I think it's then J Dub and then Chet, but still a very big three there. Um, he was hurt in the second quarter of Saturday's 122, 120 loss at Miami. He did limp off the court, and then he did miss the team's 136-104 win against the Cleveland Cavaliers on Monday in a couple of weeks. So I'm guessing he'll miss about a month. That's my opinion. But it's still a significant loss, as he is averaging 17, 5, and 6 in 24 games. He has dealt with a couple injuries to start the year. But that is the big thing here when I think about it, that, San Antonio's been looking good. Denver's been looking good, surprisingly, without, Nikola Jokic. Timberwolves have been playing pretty good basketball, but the Oklahoma City Thunder are still 5.5 games up on the San Antonio Spurs at 36-8. They have not lost more than 8 games all season. Absolutely crazy. 82% winning percentage for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Will that continue? In my opinion, I think Oklahoma City is going to end up one of the top 3. And note this, because, a lot of people said, oh, they're just going to be the number 1 seed. I don't know if they're necessarily going to be the number 1 seed. In the end of things, I do think the Timberwolves, I think the Spurs, I think the Thunder are going to be your top 3 teams in the Western Conference record-wise. I have a feeling San Antonio might just win that 1 seed. I think Minnesota will probably end up at 3, and then Oklahoma at 2. But a lot of things could change, but that's kind of where I'm sitting here. And I'm just still really surprised because Oklahoma City went on a little bit of a losing streak lately. Hasn't looked the same really since the Timberwolves beat them. But still, they're racking up wins. The Timberwolves play them in about a week or so. So that's going to be a fun game here in Target Center. But yeah, I mean, looking at these standings here, and I say here on the left side of the screen, top 6 look like locks. Well, yeah, top 6 do look like locks for me. And I've been saying this for a couple weeks now. I really think the Lakers, Rockets, Timberwolves, Nuggets, Spurs, and Thunder, they're all gonna make the playoffs above the play-in spot. And really, I think the Suns and the Dubs, depending on what they do with Jimmy Butler's situation here, I think the Suns are a lock for a play-in. I don't know about the other teams. I feel like we could see some random teams sneak in. One of those teams could be the Utah Jazz, who the Timberwolves play tonight in Utah. That is a 8 o'clock start for y'all, and then they play the Bulls on Thursday, and then the Dubs on Saturday. And I believe that's a home and home because then they play Saturday. And do they play Saturday Sunday or Saturday Monday against the Golden State Warriors? Saturday Monday against the Warriors, a home and home, and then you got the Mavericks and the Thunder. We'll talk about that in a second. In the moments upcoming here, we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, I mean, Western Conference, this is where it kind of sits here, where teams sit. My overall opinion, don't know why the Clippers are in a play-in spot right now, but hey, they are. Maybe you will see them make a move at the deadline. I guess we could talk about that here quick. Out of these 10 teams, who do I think are going to make moves at the trade deadline? I think Oklahoma City aren't going to make any moves at the deadline. I could see San Antonio making moves, but I don't really think so. Denver is a very interesting situation because they've had so many people gone onto the injury report that maybe they try to get somebody who can play off the bench that can also start for them if needed. However, I just don't know. I don't know. Well, it's going to be very interesting to see what the Denver Nuggets do, but I don't think they're going to make a blockbuster move. Timberwolves, obviously, we'll talk about that some other time and more leading up towards the trade deadline, but also in later in the episode. I do think they will make a trade, though. I don't think this team that they have right now is good enough to go back to the Western Conference Final for the third straight year. The Houston Rockets, I think they're really satisfied with their team. And similar to Denver, they've had a lot of injuries that when they're healthy, they're going to be even better than their 25-15. I think they stay the same. I think the Lakers could be an interesting team to maybe make a move. I really think their bench is not the strongest, and I really think DeAndre Ayton is not the best center they could have picked up. So do we see Ayton get traded? I doubt it, but I do think the Lakers will make a trade in the coming weeks. The Phoenix Suns, kind of same boat here. Besides Devin Booker, I could see I could see a couple of those people on the Phoenix Suns getting traded. Golden State is another very interesting team to talk about when you're talking about trade talks approaching the trade deadline, which is, again, just 2 weeks away on February 5th. 2026. The Golden State Warriors lose Jimmy Butler last night. When I'm recording this, of course, January 19th, they lose him to a season-ending injury, so he's going to be done. However, you can still trade him. Is there a way where maybe I saw Brooklyn? Brooklyn could be interested maybe for next year to have that star that, you can trade injured players, but obviously he wouldn't play for the Brooklyn Nets this year or whoever trades for him. Do they trade for, Jimmy do they trade Jimmy Butler, excuse me? Obviously, I don't think his trade value is going to be that high, but I think you could get a good role player for the Golden State Warriors, and that's kind of what they need. Their bench is a little thin, and or you could, package him with Pajemski or someone like that, or Kaminga who wants out, and maybe try to get a starter of some piece. I do think the Golden State Warriors will make a couple trades towards the trade deadline as we approach it here. The Portland Trailblazers are an interesting team. Like, I don't think they have enough assets to really, unless they want to give up on some of their young people, and I doubt it. And then the Clippers are just, I don't think they're going to end up making the playoffs. I don't think they're going to make a move. But that's kind of the state of the Western Conference right now as we look at it, as the Timberwolves are still 8.5 games back. And that moves us to our second point here on Mateo Show batting order. Boom. It will be the Wolves January recap. So far in January, the Wolves have played 9 games. They started 4-0 with a point differential of plus 73. Since then, they are 2-3 with a plus 14 point differential. So they are still outscoring their opponents, but that is mostly due to their blowout win against the Milwaukee Bucks, I believe, on Thursday, January 13th. That was a 139-106 win in Milwaukee, so that does help you. But also, you're not losing the games that you lost. I mean, it's currently on a 2-game losing streak against the Spurs and Rockets. That's a combined point differential. You lost by 8 points there. And then, I mean, you lost by 12 to Cleveland in the back end of the home and home. But overall, 7 of 9 of these games have been quote unquote playoff teams. They go 4-3 against playoff teams, so just about 500. Some notables here. Gobert missed at Milwaukee and at San Antonio. San Antonio, he missed due to some injury-related thing. It was a very minor injury. Ant also missed Milwaukee's game. So, I mean, to think that they blew out the Bucks without Ant and Gobert, probably their 2 most important pieces on their team, they still killed them. Imagine if Ant and Gobert would have played. My goodness. Would we maybe be seeing they won by 27 or something like that? Maybe they would have won by 40, 50 or 60 points. Who knows? But he also missed at Houston, which obviously he wanted to play Kevin Durant, but hey, it is what it is. Injuries happens. He missed 2 games. But then when he came back, he had a heck of a game, 55-point night. We'll talk about that in a second. But overall, from January here, I mean, excluding that December 31st game that I ended up keeping in the screenshot, I mean, you beat the Heat by 10. You beat the Wizards by a lot. You beat the Heat again by a lot. So, I mean, those first 3 games of the season against 2 of those teams, I mean, it was the same team in the Heat, but the Heat are a playoff team. They're a team in the Eastern Conference. If you don't believe me, well, yeah, they're technically, I mean, they slid down a little bit, but they're the 8th seed right now at 22-21. They have slipped a little bit since the Wolves played them. But, going into those games, excuse me, I mean, you were saying, okay, the Heat are probably going to contend. They might even be looking for a trade with John Morant or Giannis Antetokounmpo. So they're saying they're not that far away. They just need one more piece, and they can contend in a weak Eastern Conference. You destroy them both games. I mean, Cleveland's been kind of a mess lately, but I mean, still the seventh seed. They're 24-20. You beat them. Um, Pretty nicely at home, and then you kind of lost them. So that was just kind of split of a home and home back to backs. I mean, you beat the Spurs by 1, and then you lose to them by 3 in, I believe, both games. You probably should have won both games, in my opinion. And then the Houston Rockets, that was just a game where without Edwards, it just felt right that you were going to lose that game. Especially coming off the Bucks game where, I thought the Timberwolves would probably play it a little chiller, and I think they, without Edwards, it's just hard, to go back-to-back games without Anthony Edwards and, win games, especially, I mean, going from the Bucks to the Rockets. The Rockets are a contending team by no means. Respect to them. So that's just kind of what I'm thinking here. I think so far they've gone really well. They've done real well here in January. I mean, only losing to the Spurs by 3, the Rockets by 5, and then I mean you do lose to the Cavs by 12, but I mean you do really well. You do really well. I've been really impressed here. You go 6-3 so far to start the month of January. And I do want to take a peek here, you know, heading into the next stretch of games. I already mentioned the Jazz game that's happening tonight from Utah, who I mean, we could look at their past meetings, and the Timberwolves have beaten the Jazz pretty nicely in the last couple meetings. But I think, I mean, you win this game, in my opinion, here against the Bulls. I think Thursday night uh, in Target Center, I think you win that game. I do think you split against the Warriors. I just think Steph, I mean, even if they are injured, I guess that kind of changes things that Jimmy Butler is now gone. I still think the Warriors find a way to win one of those games. Kind of similar to the Golden State Warrior. Sorry, my goodness, the Cleveland Cavaliers games where it was just a home and a home. I think you just split. That's just the most realistic for me. I think. I mean, I would love it to go 4-0 in this next stretch. I just think 3-1 is more reasonable and more. I just think, yeah, I think more realistic. That's all I'm trying to say. Then you go to Dallas, and I mean that team's injured. I mean we get to see Cooper the Hooper play. I think you win that game, so like 4-1. And then you play the Thunder. Huge game Thursday, January 29th at 8:30 p.m. against them here in Minnesota. I'm thinking about trying to get to go to that game. But yeah, I think you probably end up dropping that game. I don't know if you can beat them again, but if you do, let's go. But that's still a pretty good start to actually. There's one more game in January, so after that one, again, you have 2 games in Memphis. I think you win. I think you split those, to be honest here, but you win the first game, so it's you drop 2 more games in January, and you win what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You go 5-2 in the last stretch of February, meaning that overall, in in January, excuse me, I don't know what we're doing. You would go 12-5, pretty much. 12-5 in January. That would be a very successful month, if that happens. But we'll see for sure. Let me know your guys' opinions here on the Wolves' performance in January. Do you think that they go 5-2 in their last 7 games here in January, or do they go 7-0 or 6-1? Or just let me know for sure in the comments. I'll get back to you once I see them. But that moves us to player performances. A little bit of a recap here. It's kind of a state of the Wolves. What's been going on? Key performances. Well, you got to mention this 55-point game. It's a career high for Anthony Edwards. I believe Sunday, or was it Saturday? It was Saturday. Was it Saturday? It was Saturday. Saturday night. 55-point game for Anthony Edwards. 4 rebounds, 3 assists. for sure the best performance of January so far for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I got to show some respect, though, at Milwaukee. Bones Highland stepping it up. I'll talk about Bones Highland in a little bit, but 23 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists without Gobert and Ant-Man. Speaking of Gobert, he against Washington, I know it was a blowout, but he had a great game. He had a double-double, 18 points, 14 rebounds, almost a 20-20. That would be kind of cool. I wonder if he's ever done a 20-20, 20 points and 20 rebounds. That'd be kind of lit. Got to show some love to Randall here. He stepped in without Anthony Edwards. Sure, they still lost the game, but I rant on Julius Randle too much. I got to show him some love sometimes here. 39 points. I believe that was a season high. 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Versus San Antonio. So that was the game that the Timberwolves won by 1 point in Minnesota. Dante DiVincenzo had 19 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists. Almost a triple-double for Dante DiVincenzo. And then, the real big headline here, finally, with all these injuries, without Gobert and stuff, Johan Berenjay is getting time to play. In 3 games started, he's played 60 minutes in these last 3 games here. He's gone for 23 points combined in those 3 games, 14 rebounds, and 5 assists. He's really looked good. And, of course, I'm going to talk about that here in the biggest takeaways from these 9 games here on Inside the Zone with Mateo. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. It's going to be a shorter episode today, but hit that like button, hit that subscribe button so you never miss any Wolves content or any other sports content. I do appreciate you guys. But we got 5 things. 5 things. You can take a look at my 5 biggest takeaways. I'm going to elaborate on some of them here. We're going to go one at a time, starting off with the first one. Is a trade needed? So we're gonna work into the trade machines yet again. I like to go into those trade machines because why not? Why not go into the trades machines? Yeah, but there's been a lot of rumors here of, Minnesota's looking for a point guard or maybe a backup big or another starter, depending on whatever they do here. And we've talked about it. I've done multiple episodes, I believe. I think I've done 3 maybe episodes on NBA trades and stuff. I really like to use trade machines, especially for NBA. Let me pull up my channel if I decide to maybe show it. I don't know. But there's been a lot of rumors. There's been tons and tons of rumors that, the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to be looking to make a trade at the trade deadline. And we're 2 weeks away. I'm going to do a full episode on, final trade suggestions and, looking at a bunch of trading for not just for the Timberwolves, for a bunch of other teams coming up. I believe that's going to be next Tuesday, the 27th, or maybe it will be in 2 Tuesdays from now. No, it will be from 2 Tuesdays from now, February 3rd. So that's going to be 2 days before the trade deadline. And I will be live at the NBA trade deadline. So put that in your schedule as well. I think for like 1.5 to 2 hours, I'll be live with all those, breaking down the last couple hours of the trade deadline. But that's just bite the point. And, we've done a lot. We've talked a lot about, is there a possibility to get Giannis Antetokounmpo, John Morant, Colby White? I've given you my thoughts on those trades, and we've worked around with that. Trae Young trade ideas. We before he got traded, it was actually the day before he got traded. We were going through Trae Young trade ideas. Could the Timberwolves pull that off? Obviously, that's a no. But anyway, we're going on here to fanspo.com. It's a free trade machine. It's a very accurate trade machine. It has all the updated rules and stuff, and it's super easy to use. But for the Timberwolves, is a trade needed? I say, because that's one of my biggest takeaways through the first 20 days of January, the first 9 games of 2026 for your Minnesota Timberwolves, and a point guard would be nice, but in my opinion, we don't need a point guard as much as everyone thought, and I don't even know if we need a backup big anymore as much as we thought, because Dante DiVincenzo and Anthony Edwards have been in a pretty good backcourt. I really like that backcourt. And then throwing in, Bones Highland as well as a point guard has been a good option. Sure, Mike Conley hasn't been doing much, and you could maybe try to trade him away for someone. But I just really think our backcourt is much more solidified than everyone thought. And then, since people finally decided to listen to everybody, including myself, suggesting play Johan Berenjay, They start playing Johan Berenger, and he shows you that he can be a very good backup big or a starting big, despite depending on your roster availability. If Rudy Gobert is injured or just off the court, and he's young and he's been playing really well. So this is where I come to think, like, do the Timberwolves need to make a trade? I don't know if they need to make a trade, but that doesn't stop them from saying, okay, I think we will make a trade. They don't necessarily need to make a trade, and I don't think it's going to end up being anything splashy unless it is Giannis. I think Giannis would be the only big name player that they would trade for. I don't think they're going to trade for John Morant. I don't think they're going to trade for maybe even a Kobe White. I think it would be valuable bench pieces or a Giannis trade. So let's just get the Giannis thing right out the door. I'm a huge fan of this Giannis trade idea that's been roaming since last year. The Milwaukee Bucks are a mess. They're one of the worst teams in the East, one of the worst teams in the league, and Giannis just wants out. So this would have Giannis go to Milwaukee. However, the money doesn't work like that. So you would have to get rid of either McDaniels or Randall and a couple other assets here. I think you have to keep Gobert. I think it would be Randall or McDaniels. And for this to work, in my opinion, I think it would have to be Randall, mostly because they play the same position. And I think Jaden McDaniels is actually, he's younger. He has 4 years left on his deal. Julius Randle's 31 years old, so you're actually trading a 31-year-old for 31-year-old. And Julius Randle, I do think, could be a good fit for the Milwaukee Bucks. I think we could also do a 3-team trade as well that I will get into in a second. But Giannis for Randle, obviously, straight up would not work, but you're very close. You have $19 million to work in here. So, I mean, you could do the easy trade of just putting, Naz Reid. And I was really opposed to doing this trade a few months ago with Naz Reid and Julius Randle, because if you put this here, it works financially. You hit try trade. Wait, it's okay. Wait, what? Oh, it's 1 point, dude. It basically works. You would probably have to throw in a chip or something here, like Leonard Miller or something like that. Probably, that's my opinion. This probably works, right? Yeah, it does work. So you'd have to throw in like a Leonard Miller type of player. I was opposed to this trade a couple months ago because I thought Nas was a very good player off the bench. However, our bench has shown that we are much more deeper than everybody thought because of a couple other guys in right here. Johan Berenger, Bones Highland. And I think if you also want that money to work, you could throw in Rob Dillingham. I mean, keep Leonard Miller. You don't really need Leonard Miller. But think about this here, and I think you could even try to get another piece here if you throw in these 3 players. And by the way, so this lineup then, I know I'm kind of going all over the place. I'm sorry if this is hard to understand. But your new lineup would be, by getting rid of these players, it would be DiVincenzo, Edwards, Giannis, McDaniels, and Gobert. That's a great lineup. Your bench, this is what I was worried. It would be Berenger, Shannon, Highland, Clark. Who that bench is pretty good. Conley can maybe play a little bit. I'm not as opposed to this trade as I was a couple months ago. You wouldn't maybe even need to add in a pick. I think I would end up giving the Bucks a 2026 first round pick. But I would for sure think of trying to get, when now you look at the players. Now, who are you short? Well, you're probably short a big. You probably want a big here. So you have Berenger as your backup big. Shannon, you have some guard play. I think, probably a backup big of some kind. Bring in Taurean Prince back. Just a veteran there. Theonis. We could just bring in both Atenakupos. There's a lot of people we could bring. Bobby Portis, I wouldn't mind that, but I do think he would probably want to start. I think like a Taurean Prince, who we know he can play some defense or something like that. Would this work financially? this would work financially. So like Giannis and Prince for Randall, Reed, and Dillingham, and a first maybe. This gives the Bucks a good young player in Rob Dillingham. Maybe they can develop him. Naz Reid is a good sixth man of the year type of player. He could even start if you want him to. And then Julius Randle is a pretty good star. And then you also get a first round pick in this. Torian Prince, Giannis Antetokounmpo for the Timberwolves. You get a Torian Prince who can play, just give your bench another guy because you are losing two bench players in Dillingham and Reed. But here's also the thing. Dillingham hasn't even really been playing as much, so you really only lose a starter in Giannis and a bench player in Naz for a bench player in Prince and a starter in Antetokounmpo. You do give up a first-round pick, but that's okay. We have a lot of young guys, and then you give up Dillingham, who's basically another first-round pick. And obviously Finch and I think the Timberwolves have given up on Dillingham. I think he will be traded. If it's not in a Giannis trade, it's in a different trade. And I just who says no to this trade? I really think this is what makes it. It's like it's so easy to do. And sure, you lose Nas. That stings. Sure, some people like Randall. I'm not a huge fan of Randall, so in my opinion, it's easier for me to trade Randall. And think about this upgrade, though. For those who like Randall a lot, think about this upgrade. It's the same amount of times. It's still a 3-year deal. Sure, it's a $54 million per year deal with Giannis compared to a $31 million, but it's Giannis Antetokounmpo, one of the top 5 best players in the world. And yes, I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna say that Giannis is a top 5 player in the world, and he might even become one of the. He already is one of the greatest scorers of all time, but he could maybe pass, I think, third all time. That's what he's on track for. Third in all-time scoring for the NBA. He's so good. And still at 31 years old, he's a really good defender. He can set some screens. He'll give you some lobs. I mean, just imagine the duo of Giannis and Ant-Man. And I think that gives Ant-Man a true co-star, and that is what we need. However, if the Bucks don't want, Julius Randle, I think he could be rerouted somewhere else. And I will let's just here back to Milwaukee. We're going to kind of reset here and give you a third option. I have done this before on the show. We're going to add in a third team. Where is that button? Why can't I find it? Oh my gosh, it was right there. I think the Bulls could be a good spot for Julius Randle. So this would have Julius Randle go to the Bulls. Giannis would still come to the Timberwolves. But in this, Patrick Williams would go to the Bucks. I think Dillingham would still go to the Bucks. And in this part here, everyone's happy except the Timberwolves in the money here in the second apron. So right now, for Giannis, they're not getting enough. Just Dillingham and Patrick Williams, that's obviously not enough. I think you probably end up still putting here Naz Reid. You put him to the Bucks, and this does, I think, work. It doesn't. I think we have to add in one more player. But something like, I think Patrick Williams for Julius Randle, that's not fair. Hold on. I think, who did I have? Kevin Huerter. Yeah, Kevin Huerter is a good, yeah. Nope. Sorry. Hold up. We put him, trade to, hold on, undo trade. He needs to go to the Bucks. There we go. And this should, yeah, there we go. Perfect. Okay. So something like this, obviously you can maybe add Torian Prince in as well, to the Timberwolves if you want, or somebody like that. The Timberwolves get Giannis. That's most important for Timberwolves fans. But the Bucks' return is very, very good. Very good here. You get Nas, Patrick Williams, Kevin Huerter, Rob Dillingham. That's almost a starting lineup. And I could make an argument here that could be too much for Giannis. But I doubt it's not too much for Giannis. In this way, the Bulls actually get Julius Randle. So now he gets to play with Colby White and Josh Giddey and Vucevic. I like that lineup a lot. And also Modest Buzelis. So they would be, the Bulls lineup would be Giddey, White, Buzelis, Vucevic, and Randle. I like that lineup a lot. Their bench is a little thin, but it's okay. And I think first round pick maybe from the Timberwolves could go to the Bucks as well. But Giannis coming to Minnesota, sure, your bench is a little thin. Maybe you try to get a bench player. But then the Bucks, I mean, you add here Dillingham to your bench or starter. You get Horder and Williams. Both of them can be starters. Reed could be a starter or a bench player. You already have Kyle Kuzma, who they probably will want to move on from eventually. Gary Trent Jr. And I think this is a good trade also that the Bucks can get more players to build around, but they can also get picks as well. We could mess around with that as well. But those are kind of my two Giannis trade ideas for the Timberwolves. If it wasn't gonna be Giannis, I think we could still call up the Bulls. And this wouldn't have Julius Randle going to the Bulls, but it would have, Rob Dillingham, or they've also expressed a lot of interest in Terrence Shannon, who Terrence Shannon hasn't really done much this year. And the Bulls have some good options here for defense. And I think defense is a key spot here. You have the scoring in McDaniels, Randall, if you keep him, and of course Anthony Edwards. But you need some more defense, especially when the man Rudy Gobert, the big 7-footer, if you guys don't know who he is, the Frenchman, bald Rudy, because he shaved all his hair. Who, by the way, did you see Wembanyama shaved his hair too? So it's now all the French people are shaving their head and going bald. It's kind of funny. But the Bulls have a lot of good defenders here, big defenders. Io is a big name that have been linked to the Timberwolves. He does only have 1 year left, so that could be a kind of a rental player. But I think him for Shannon goes through straight. It does. So that gives you just some good defense because he is a very good defender. He's sitting at 6'5". But also Patrick Williams. I like Patrick Williams a lot here. He's under contract for 4 years. I don't know if this would be it wouldn't work financially. I do think you could add like Mike Conley to this trade. And man, they really want Terrence Shannon, so I think this could be easier to get him than y'all think. I think Rob Dillingham could end up being in this trade as well, if you truly want him a lot. If you take Conley out of this trade, because I don't know if anyone's going to really take him, you could put like Jalen Clark, but I don't think so. I think, we keep Conley into this trade. We take Dillingham out even. Maybe if you want to keep him and then put, like Leonard Miller in. And this would work straight up. Would it work? It would be failed probably to do with players going in and out, whatever. Yeah. It's fine. But something like this, Patrick Williams for some young guys. I don't know if this would go through. You maybe would have to add in a first-round pick. But Patrick Williams could be a good wing player that could help with the defense for sure. But Io for sure is a target that I would consider going for. Kevin Horter, maybe. Trey Jones, if you want a point guard. He's like straight up. You could do Jones for Shannon, I'm pretty sure straight up. Can you do this straight up still? No, you can't. You would have to add in like Leonard Miller. Sorry, Leonard Miller. You're just the easiest person to add because you're under contract and you have money and stuff. It would be failed, but despite this, I don't think it affects any you'd have to add in whatever more money or to make it work. But overall, maybe it even could be Shannon and Dillingham for Trey Jones. I think that would probably be a little too much. But obviously, we don't know people's trade values, and we're gonna do a full episode on the rest of the leagues trades and stuff. But let me know your favorite rumors for the Timberwolves. Who would you want? Do you want Giannis? Do you want somebody from the Bulls? Do you want somebody from a different team that I haven't mentioned? Let me know, and I might let it slip into my trade deadline prep show coming up on February 3rd, 2 days before the trade deadline on February 5th, 2026. But yeah, that's the first kind of biggest takeaway from this month of basketball from the Minnesota Timberwolves. The second one is play Baron J. Moore. And I've been saying this for a long, long time. Let him play. He is almost a 7-foot player. He has Rudy Gobert teaching him things. Give him some shots. Why not? And finally, they have been these last couple games, and he is showing the Timberwolves that, hey, he is here, and he is here to stay. Play Baron J. Moore. He is a good backup big that you can have when Gobert goes out, when he's injured, when he's in foul trouble. He's been playing good. Obviously, his shot IQ and his basketball IQ still needs to mature a little bit and develop a little bit more. But overall, Baron J, I love this so much. I love what I've been seeing from him. I think everybody does. I talk to Wolves fans all the time, and I say, "Hey, like Baron J, let's go!" Right? And they're saying, "Yeah, right." Everybody's so excited that Baron J's playing, and I really think Finch needs to let him play more because he's a really good asset for this team. But you know who's also a very good asset and who's been really important to this team? Bones Highland. Highland, as my third biggest takeaway, this month has gone absolutely crazy. I mentioned already that 23-point game against what was it, Milwaukee. He's been on fire here. And you know what annoys me so much is this is what we were expecting from Rob Dillingham. We traded up to get Rob Dillingham, and then he basically turned out to be a bust so far. I mean, he also hasn't really gotten as much playing time, but Highland has been proving that he's been playing really well, and Highland is what the Timberwolves wanted Rob Dillingham to end up. Unfortunately, it looks like Rob Dillingham's gonna get an get it is gonna get a. My goodness, why can't I talk today, boys? Looks like Rob Dillingham is gonna get traded. Uh, or maybe they keep him around for development and try to develop him one more season. But I do think Rob Dillingham is not going to be a long-term solution here. I just don't think he fits here as well. And I really like Bones Highland. So Bones Highland, as I said, Bones Highland is him. Um, I'm kind of going through these. It's a shorter episode today. I'm still talking. I make it longer. But anyway, uh, fourth biggest takeaway, Anthony Edwards, Ant-Man, is a top 5 player. You've been looking at these stats here. The alien versus Ant-Man. It could be a comic book. Ant-Man versus the alien. The bad guy, right? Could be that. But in that game Saturday night, where the Spurs still ended up winning by 3 points. Anthony Edwards had a career high 55-point game but he shot 19 of 33, 9 of 16 from 3, only missed 2 free throws. He went 8 of 10 for free throws. On the other side, the alien, Victor Wembanyama, had 39 points, 12 for 23, 4 of 9 from three-point land, 11 of 14 from the free throw line. And I'm saying, well, what does that have to do with that? Well, the All-Star starters came out a couple days ago, and here it is. Y'all want to see it? Y'all want to see it? Well, boom. Victor Wembanyama is in the All-Star starters for the Western Conference, even though it's weird because why are we doing by Western Conference? Because we're doing USA versus the world. I don't know. But the starters were announced, and Victor Wembanyama is a All-Star starter before Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards got snubbed, in my opinion. Do not know why. Do not know why he did not, get put into the All-Star. I mean, he is going to be in the All-Star game. It's just he's not going to be an All-Star starter. I really do think he should be a starter. In my opinion, he's played way more games than Victor Wembanyama. But it just shows that Minnesota sports are just kind of disrespected in general. But also on the left side of your screen, you see here top 10 players before the season ESPN player rankings. I don't know why that is. There's not a space in between. I'm sorry about that. But it was Jokic at 1, SGA at 2, Doncic 3, Giannis 4, Wemby 5, Ant-Man 6, Curry 7, LeBron 8, KD 9, and Jalen Brunson at 10. I'm not going to talk more about this, but I'm going to talk about Wemby and Ant-Man. The league just tends to put Victor Wembanyama over Anthony Edwards in top 5 players consideration. And it's represented here by the All-Star starters. It's represented by the top 10 players before the season, ESPN player rankings. And it's represented in a lot of different ways. Anthony Edwards, in my opinion, is a better player than Victor Wembanyama. He's more fun to watch. He is more of this, Jordan type of player that I really like watching. And Wembanyama, I really think a lot of the hype is because he is so tall and that he is really good because he's tall and lengthy. The dude is so skinny, though. My goodness. I was watching because the Timberwolves have been playing him a lot. I've been watching. Wembanyama is just like a stick. When you shove him one time, he's gonna fall over. He's so thin. It's hilarious. But I do think a lot of the hype is because Wembanyama is so tall and good that it's just I feel like Edwards' game is not as appreciated as, Victor Wembanyama's game, even though I think Edwards is more of an entertainer than Victor Wembanyama. His play style is way more entertaining. Um, but it is, for my top five players, I would have Jokic, I'd have Doncic, I would have Giannis, I'd probably have Edwards, and then I'd have SGA. SGA is a very good, talented player. This is another story for another time. After SGA would be Wembanyama, by the way, and then Curry. And then I don't even know if any of those three players, LeBron, KD, or Brunson from before the season, ESPN, would be in my top 10. I don't know. Maybe I'll do that some other time. Let me know in the comments if you want a top 15, top 20 players right now or something video. Let me know in the comments for sure. But no disrespect to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He is a MVP type of player. I just think his play style is much more boring than Doncic, Giannis, Jokic, Anthony Edwards. I just think because he has done this whole foul baiting thing, people have disliked him more. And it's harder to appreciate what he does because you're just thinking about the foul baiting thing. I think if you take that away, I think he becomes a top 3 player for me. But because Jokic, Doncic, Giannis, and Ant-Man are all more fun to watch, and I think probably are better overall, I think SGA's defense is questionable a lot. Very questionable. Doncic's defense is questionable too, but there's something about Doncic that I enjoy watching that makes him, I think, a better player. But by all means, I feel like Anthony Edwards should be a top 5 player that should be respected by now. Should be respected by the All-Star starters because I really do believe, in the East this season, despite Tyrese Halliburton and Jason Tatum getting hurt, those 5, Brunson, Cunningham, Brown, Antetokounmpo, and Maxey, those have been the 5 best players in the East. In my opinion, Doncic, SGA, Curry, Jokic have been the best players in the West, but Anthony Edwards has been much better overall than Victor Wembanyama. So I just have a huge, problem with Victor Wembanyama becoming a all-star starter before Anthony Edwards is this season. But it is what it is. But overall, I just wanted to say Anthony Edwards is a top 5 player. I think we could even say he could be a top 3 player very, very soon. I know it's a hot topic, hot take, whatever. But yeah, Anthony Edwards is a top 5 player. The fifth biggest takeaway, fifth and final biggest takeaway from the month, or just most of January here, these first 9 games of 2026, is where the heck has Jaden McDaniels been? I don't really know. So people love Jaden, and oh, don't trade him, right? I didn't put him in a trade because people want him, around, and people have been saying, oh no, we want Jaden around, and we'd rather trade Julius. But where has Jaden been? I was looking through, when I was finding those player stats of, the last 9 games. Jaden McDaniels maybe had 1 or 2 games over 20 points. The rest have been about 13 to 15 points. His defense has been off. His, just playmaking, decision-making, shot selection has been off. And this is just one thing where it's like, people ask me, why don't you like Jaden McDaniels? Well, I don't hate him, and I don't, really dislike him. I have a really, I'm really mixed. I'm mixed feelings here. I want him to succeed, but he just kind of disappears until maybe he has one big game, then everybody's hyped, and then he goes back down to being just mid. I think also the Minnesota Timberwolves have a lot of players that could be a star on a bad team. I think Jaden McDaniels could be a star if he was the only star on one team. I think Julius Randle could be the star if he was on, the team with one good star, and that was him. So that's where I think, the Bucks could be a good fit for him because he could now take charge and be that leader. And I think that's what he wants to. Kind of same thing with Jaden McDaniels. I think, if he was on a team like maybe Sacramento or Milwaukee, or I'm trying to think of other teams. I don't think the Wizards. I think the Wizards have a very interesting selection of players. I don't know exactly, but I think you get what I'm saying. Even the Clippers, if he was like that good team that people would look up to, I think he would be a better player overall. But right now, he's behind Edwards. He's behind Randall. He's behind Gobert. He sometimes is even behind Nas or Nante DiVincenzo. That it's just, it's just, they take over and then he doesn't know what to do. And I do think that is a big problem here. And that's why I say, hey, maybe since he is valuable, maybe use him in a trade. I think Milwaukee would maybe like him more. Maybe you package him and Nas Reed or something like that for Giannis if you were to get Giannis, because McDaniels or Randall, despite one of them, it doesn't matter which one. It's either one of them. You put them. Whatever I'm about to say here, it could be true for either of these players. But I'm just gonna say McDaniels because my thing is where's Jaden been? If Jaden McDaniels gets traded to the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis gets sent out, he is now in control of that team. Everything is gonna be played through him. Everything is gonna be played through Julius Randle if he gets traded to a team. And I think that's what that's Jaden McDaniels and Julius Randle are. They play this kind of the same, very same style of play, and I think they have to be that star. And being behind Gobert, being behind Anthony Edwards, if you're McDaniels, being behind Randle, it's not ideal for them. And I really do think that's why they have been a little bit more quiet. Randall did finally step it up without Anthony Edwards against Houston. Sure, they still lost that game, but he had 39 points. Where was Jaden? He had maybe 20 points or less. It's just proving my points. Like, where has Jaden been? I'm not totally sure, but I mean, I do have ideas. I was letting you guys know. Let me know, where has Jaden been? Let me know what you guys think. Let me know your takeaways from these first 9 games of 2026. I really do hope you guys have enjoyed this episode and of Inside the Zone with Mateo. And coming up, these next couple of shows on Inside the Zone with Mateo. On Thursday, it's our weekly NFL show. We talk about the NFC and AFC championship games. We'll talk about some fired coaches, hiring coaches, and all more to come on talking all NFL on Thursday on our weekly NFL show. Next Tuesday, a week from now, as we do 2 podcasts a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Next Tuesday, monthly NHL and NBA power rankings. You won't want to miss that. And then followed by next Thursday will be the Pro Bowl. On the 29th of January will be the Pro Bowl weekly NFL show. We'll kind of recap the NFC and AFC championship games. We'll maybe even do a little mini Super Bowl preview, but we'll probably do that in a couple weeks from now on the 5th. We'll talk, maybe predictions for the Pro Bowl, and we'll figure out what to do there. Of course, then in 2 Tuesdays from now, final NBA trade speculations. And then on that next Thursday, the 5th of February, gosh, we're going to be in February. I will be live at the trade deadline. We're going to have about 2 hours. The last 2 hours of the trade deadline, as trades sprinkle in, I'll give you my reactions. We'll talk about it. And also on that same day, pre-recorded, it will be released, the NFL weekly episode. Super Bowl preview, boys. Super Bowl is coming, bro. It's going to be a heck of a couple of weeks here on Inside the Zone with Mateo. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Don't forget to keep God first, because he's the most important thing in your lives. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.